Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
I thought I knew it all until I started reading Past the Wire. You should read it too.
Breeders' Cup Seminar on the Internet. Crush racing's biggest days with expert insights from the Pick Six King himself, Jonathan Stettin. Register now for the Past the Wire Breeders' Cup Seminar presented by Amwager. Thursday, November 3rd at 6:30. Visit PastTheWire.com and reserve your seat today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Past the Wire TV. I'm here with my friend who also happens to be one of the sharpest bettors and minds in the sport of kings, Tommy Hammer Massis, a former Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion, a potential future Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion. Other contests on his resume, $1 million Hong Kong Pick Six on his resume. Hammer's as sharp as it gets. He's been on the show many times. I enjoy spending time and talking horses with him. Hammer, thank you for coming on. Pre-Breeders' Cup. I think we got some interesting things to talk about, but I always enjoy talking horses with you. So it's going to be fun for me no matter what.
All right.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm always ready to talk horses with anyone, man.
That's true. True you are. Hammer's a little under the weather. You know, nobody who has never experienced back pain knows how serious that could be. It could be a little troublesome. I want your take on something to start. Okay. You're an opinionated guy. Flightline, they announced they're auctioning off what, 2.5% of them? I don't know, one hair, a hoof, an eyeball. I'm not exactly sure, but they're auctioning off a piece of Flightline. West Point Thoroughbreds, one of the partners in Flightline is the one that is actually doing it. What's your take on it? I found it a little odd myself. I'm curious your take on it.
Well, it seems to be the trend in every part of life, selling air for money, basically.
Right.
And you know what? People buy it. That's like the chain, the supply and demand chain. But how would it come across if I'm entering the BCBC? I'm going to sell shares in the BCBC.
Right.
And if I win, you'll get a copy of the check. I'll superimpose you in the picture, the winner's picture.
Okay.
Send you a certificate, everything, but no money.
I wouldn't like that deal.
Well, no, and they wouldn't let me do that.
No, they wouldn't.
But when the big top of, and it's the jockey club facilitates all this, and they're just looking to grab. And I don't blame them because everyone's trying to pick the flesh off the horse player's bone and owner's bone. So why not just gouge? Everyone's out for the same hunk of meat. And it's not for me, but people buy into this stuff. They want to be part of the glory and not part of the money. And, so be it. All I know is if I try to do it as a horse player, I'd get shut down.
Well, right. And I guess it's kind of like that whole participation trophy mentality or whatever you want to call it, like my racehorse with the fractional shares. I guess, and I'm no expert on this stuff. I guess they get around the legalities by technically, let's say that 2.5 gets auctioned off. That's $1 million. Somebody says, you know what, I'll give you $1 million just to say I want a piece of Flightline. Flightline goes to stud, stands for 200,000. I'm assuming that they get their 2.5% of West Point share or whatever it is that they're actually buying financially, residually going forward as part of his stud career, I would assume that there is money there, unless it's just structured in a way, you know, where there's just nothing left at the end of the day. I really don't know. I haven't looked over the particulars, but I'd like to think that if you buy a piece of Flightline, no matter how small, that you're earning something. You may not live long enough to make $1 million back or whatever it goes for, but there's got to be some kind of financial interest at stake, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I assume the opposite. I assume you got UGATs. Maybe they'll send you a semen sample from Flightline that they kill. They sterilize it. It looks like semen. They sterilize it so you don't go do like the Popper Village.
That's my favorite.
And do the artificial perspiration.
Artificial inspiration doesn't just work with people, it works with horses too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man.
Don't laugh. I'll tell you a funny story. You know how I found out that was illegal in racing? I was sitting with my brother and my dad years ago at Calder up in a restaurant, and it hit me. I said, you know, and I might have even been thinking about the Pope of Greenwich Village. I'm not even sure. But I said, I just thought of an idea. We're going to get rich. All right. These geldings that they geld, why don't we take semen samples from these geldings before they're gelded? And then when one turns out real good, a good gelding must have won that day or something. Put the idea in my head. When a gelding wins, we got a ton of his semen. Okay, we can go back and we can artificial inseminate mares and make millions. My brother didn't know any better than me, neither did my dad. Like, this is brilliant, this is great. Didn't take long to find out Jockey Club doesn't allow that, so it wasn't that novel an idea, I guess.
That's funny. The thoroughbreds don't allow it, right? But the harness use artificial insemination.
Really?
I seen this is 3-4 years ago. I was looking at the Meadowlands harness, and there was 3 New Jersey sire stake races, 9 horses in each race. All 27 horses were by a sire called Trixton. And in harness, they don't, you know, actually do the act. It's artificial insemination.
Right.
And in polo, the polo ponies, I think like the top 120 polo ponies have the exact same genealogy. They clone polo ponies. I saw it on 60 Minutes. They're still doing it. Some guy had a champion horse, and, you know, I don't know if the horse went lame or whatever, and he was heartbroken. He loved the horse, and he cloned it. And now every single horse in almost every single high-end competitive polo horse is the same horse. They're all 100% brothers beyond belief. So I don't know. It makes sense, right? To the artificial insemination, right?
Right.
But how many breeders do you put out of business overnight? Because if 27 stake horses in New Jersey are out of Trixton, how many other, you know, there's not too many.
Right.
There's 4 sires for each jurisdiction.
Right.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see these bloodsuckers go out of business.
Yeah, no, the breeding industry would be in turmoil if that was ever somehow legalized. But I'll tell you this. You know, with all the corruption and all the nonsense we've seen, not only in our sport, but in, you know, just about every other big money game there is, it would not surprise me somewhere, somehow, some way, if some horse has been artificially inseminated and we don't know about it, or we don't know who the sire is, or, you know, we got a real Pope of Greenwich Village scenario having run or ran somewhere at some point, you know?
Yeah, I believe 100% it's being done. I don't know the safeguards. I don't know if the Jockey Club is watching every, you know, mounting. You got to have it on video, you know. But hey, what's a good way to get your cheap, say, Florida bred sire to shoot up the ladder, right? You know, you're using tepid blood, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly.
And all of a sudden, your stud fee goes from 500 to 50,000.
Right. Yeah. No. And
you know, there's only millions and millions and billions of dollars involved. Why would anyone do anything crooked or cheap?
Right. No. Exactly right. And if history has taught us anything, it's that if there's money at stake, people will do anything. And usually those are the guys that are always a step ahead of the guys that are trying to catch them. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, and I give no blame to anyone, because this game is the dirtiest, filthiest game there is. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And if you're dirtier and filthier than the next guy, well, you have to be to, to compete, to be one up on someone. It's just, people in the history of this game, maybe in life too, but especially I'm more familiar with this game at every level. There's cheaters. Everyone's looking to take an edge. It seems to be more in a backstretch. It's like a norm. They all hate each other. They all try to screw each other. They're all trying to one up each other. It's insanity, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a tough sport to swallow. No question about it. Leading into the Breeders' Cup on a positive note, I don't know how we'll spin that positive, but it's our big weekend. And one observation that I've had, and I'm not a stat guy, so like when I talk about this kind of stuff, it's not like I looked it up and I know. I just go by off the, in my head. It seems to me that this year, more than a lot of years, Hammer, we're going to have a lot of short-priced favorites in key races to decide what to do with. And horses like Flightline, who I believe will be, assuming he gets to the race, of course, and nobody's grabbed, but he will be the shortest priced Breeders' Cup Classic horse in the history of the game to date. Maybe forever. I think Nest is going to be a very short price. I think Golden Pal is going to be a very short price. I think Cave Rock, a very short price. A couple of others, Jackie's Warrior, very short price. I think there's going to be a lot of horses, even money, 6 to 5, Flightline less. I think it'll be like 2 to 5. And I think the spread from Flightline in pick 4s, 5s, 6s, and 3s, the spread from him to the second priced horse is going to be a lot bigger than even the odds reflect. I think there's going to be a big spread to the second priced, multi-race wager. What's your take on that? Do you think I'm right? There's going to be more short prices that we have to deal with than the norm. And what's your take on that aspect of this year's Breeders' Cup?
I really haven't dove into things. I really don't like to look and handicap until I know exactly who's in the race.
I agree.
And for me, sometimes that one scratch race day can throw off that handicapping. And it's like I try to picture the race in my mind. And so, but leave that alone. If I always look at it this way. I used to try to beat favorites. Okay, let me try to beat the favorite. That mentality. What happens when you have that mentality is it becomes your modus operandi. The first thing you look, you see a 6 to 5 morning line and you get all excited and say, oh, okay, we're going to beat him. And you get into a bad habit where that 6 to 5 could be the biggest cinch of the century, but you're programmed to beat favorites. And even though people say, yeah, I'm selective, but if that's your one of the first things you look at, your brain's gonna be locked into that, and your brain's gonna take over and convince you how to beat every favorite. And to me, that's insanity. We all know favorites win 33%. And if you're playing multi-race bets, you don't have favorites, you're not gonna win too often. You got, if you get all favorites, yeah, you can't use all favorites, but I'll start with Cave Rock, right? So Cave Rock, I watched some 2-year-old replays and looks like a robot, like a machine that can't lose. But when you start looking at the PPs and seeing, hey, this horse can go, this horse can go, that horse can go, hey, this horse ain't bad, he comes off the pace, and now you can see how he can lose. But I ask myself this question now: if all horses were the same odds, who would I be betting on? And if the answer is Cave Rock, and that kind of disqualifies me from playing the race.
Understood.
And I looked at that race, and that's a race I can't use. I can't use because I can't see anyone better than Cave Rock, but I can see races the way he can lose. And even if I figure out he is going to lose and this scenario plays out, which I doubt, because what happens with a horse like Cave Rock, when they say you can go 23-46 mile to 16th and keep going, everybody snatches up, they pay him respect, and they let him go, and it's over. But that's too many questions in my head, so I'm not going to try to beat Cave Rock. ain't going to bet against them. I'm not going to bet on them. I'm not going to bet against them. That race has got to be out of the sequence for me.
You know,
Almost has to be, barring, you know, if the field looks like it's going to shape up the way it is, he can get beat, but I hate to try to beat the best horse through a trip.
I
Now,
agree. I agree. Well,
now if I had my eye on a 20-to-1 shot, right,
Okay.
that I kind of like, that can come off the pace, and I really have my eye on him, and then I can gamble. Okay, so I try to beat Cave Rock, and if Cave Rock, instead of betting place, Cave Rock onto my horse, that exactly pays $50. That's not a bad backup. Then the
Right.
race is playable. But just to go in without an opinion and try to beat a horse is suicide in the long term. Suicide, period.
I'm glad you mentioned this because you know there's an old saying, great minds think alike, and you know, you're one of the few people out there that beat the game. I'm one of the few people out there that beat the game, and we have a very similar philosophy about this. And I've had this debate with people that claim to be successful horse players and you know, love to post tickets and, you know, tell you how good they are. And you know, some of them do know what they're talking about, but when it comes to you know, betting and beating the game, it's a different animal. And I always tell people, I never bet against my own opinion. Okay, and I'm saying the same thing that you just said in my own way. If I think Cave Rock is the winner and probably going to win, but I could see scenarios where he gets beat. All right, I'm not comfortable maybe betting him at 6-5 or even money at 4-5 when I see a lot of scenarios where he can get beat. So what I'll do is I'll pass that race very often. Okay. But what I won't do is exactly what you said. I won't say, you know what? I think Cave Rock's going to win. I think he's the most likely winner. I think he should win, but I'm going to bet this horse because this horse is 8-1 and Cave Rock is 6-5. I don't bet against my own opinion. I bet on my own opinion, or I pass if I can't get the kind of value or price that I want, which pretty much almost mirrors what you said. And I think that ties into one of the reasons, there are probably several, but one of the reasons why we have both been successful long-term at this game, because most people, if we had a panel of handicappers on here right now, most people would not have that approach. They would be like, no, you got to bet against these favorites. You got to go against them to have any shot. And that's not true. Like you said, they're going to win 33% of the time. And if I like a favorite and I like value or price horses in the other races, I'll single a favorite as fast and as hard as I will a 20-to-1 shot. Makes no difference to me. I'm betting my opinion, not the odds. And I think that's kind of what you're saying as well.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of bad habits, you know, a lot of bad habits in playing the horses. And, you know, even if I love Cave Rock, absolutely love, saw no way it can lose, I'm not going to formulate a ticket around Cave Rock.
Right.
No matter how much I can't see him lose. I can't formulate. Now, I could formulate a pick 4, pick 5 on a 10-to-1 shot in another race, and then I can also see key Cave Rock also. That's different, but just to formulate around Cave Rock, and I know guys are going to take these heavy. I know there's going to be. I agree with what you said about the pick 4s, 5s, and 6s. Everyone's going to get down to that last race, and another bad habit is you got a 1-to-9 shot. You love a 1-to-9 shot, fine. I think the horse can't lose either, and then they'll take backup tickets. And pick 4 and pick 5. But this is the race where they won't. This is the race when it comes down to cut your ticket. They're just going. Everyone's already put that free bingo square there.
Right.
And I agree with that the horse is going to win. But if your ticket is, you know, like I said, with Cave Rock set up around getting to Flightline, well,
right.
God bless you.
God exactly. Bless you. Right. You're behind the 8 ball before you even start, which is
now having said that, like if you have a short ticket and you know where you can get a $20, $50 one, $100 pick 4 is one thing. But if you're doing the Neanderthal 50-cent ticket and using alls to hope to get a bomb to get down to Flightline, well, you're
right in trouble. No, I agree. I agree 100%. You know, my brother, who's a very good player, plays that way. He won't shy away from favorites, but when he likes a couple of favorites, he'll bet a very short ticket, but he'll bet it for $100 or $200. You know, I mean, I've seen him hit pick fours and pick fives for 100 or two. You know, he's like, I don't care if that horse 3 to 5, he's going to win, and he just doesn't have a lot of horses, and when he hits. He's hit some nice tickets that way, but they're not at all those Neanderthal cowboy type tickets where for 50 cents, he's spread all over the place. I don't think you could beat the game or survive unless you got a very, very deep pocket betting that way over time at all. You know what I mean? I just think that's one of the worst ways to bet and one of the biggest mistakes that people make.
Yeah, to the Philly race, to me, it's a those 3 horses all have the right to be favorites. Now, I haven't looked at sheets or buyers or nothing to try to figure out who the favorite is. Malatat, to me, in the long run, is the most consistent. Clairiere beat her, and I think it was all the right timing for Clairiere to beat that horse. And I think Clairiere is the only one that's doing the right thing again, is skipping a dance or two to save it for the big dance.
Right. And
I think Clairiere might have those two on that condition over a barrel. But like I said, until I see the rest, I was looking at some future odds today. Latruska's going in the 7 furlong race.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't trust none of anything I get from the Breeders' Cup, Batteries, all of that. I look at all. Is Latruska going in the Philly and Mares? It makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, Latruska goes in the 7 furlong race. It's nuts because there's so much. There's got to be speed in there. That's just Can she come from 8 lengths out of it going 7 furlongs? Who knows? Maybe, but
probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't bet on her at any price. But that Philly mare race, I think there's 3 of them. I wouldn't be surprised if either of the 2 Pletchers are favorite. But Clairiere, to me, that's and you get these days with these, I don't know how much a computer bettors can affect those pools, but they probably will. If Clairiere is big value, it's going to get pummeled late and that, but
100%. And it's interesting because again, it comes back to great minds. Clairiere is a horse that I said at the beginning of the year was going to have a big year and was going to beat those horses at some point. And sure enough, she did. And I also said on another show that I thought that the smart play was, skipping a dance or two and bringing her to the Breeders' Cup fresh. She was one of the ones that on the show Unfiltered, Michael Wilson asked me, which of the 2 Pletches is going to win, the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and I was like, I don't count Clairiere out by any stretch of the imagination. But where we differ in opinion is, I think Nest will go off favored, and I think she'll go off a shorter price favorite than many people expect.
Okay, I'm not going to argue that. One point I want to make about Steve Asmussen, right? He gives Clairiere a break, right?
Right.
He's going to rush Gunite back, right? The dude don't train every horse the same, does he? He knows his horses. He knows what each one needs.
The Philly too, the one, what is her name? Wicked Halo, the one that won the other day. She's going to come back in the sprint too.
I'm just saying he knows it. And the British guys, their big day was that Queen's whatever day at Ascot a week ago.
Right, 2 weeks ago.
They're in there. They don't care about their Breeders' Cup. They really don't. Their priority was winning the back home big race they dreamt about since they were little lads and lassies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And how are these horses going to come over here? Like I know Aidan O'Brien, runs them like Randy Perceau every week. But John Gosden's going to do it. Charlie Applejuice is going to do it. It's interesting with these Euros coming back on that short rest. So, I see Euros. To me, I see a couple Euros, but I don't even, like I said, I don't even know if they're coming or running. But I see one of them on the first day that should be 1-9.
Right.
Won't be, but should be. But like I said, I don't even know if the horse is coming or not.
Right. I probably know who you mean. I agree. So, you know, we're on the same page on a lot of this stuff. Another thing I think that people do that I think is a mistake is, and you kind of alluded to this, I don't do it, you don't do it, but a lot of people do it. A lot of people kind of have their mind made up or semi-made up now, okay? And I think that's a huge mistake. And even if you think, well, you know, when I get the final PPs and the post positions, then I'll kind of finalize my decision. Dangerous waters, in my opinion, because you get that preconceived idea. Sometimes it gets into the subconscious part of the brain, and you know, you look for reasons to like a horse that you kind of locked into early. You know, I'll give you a perfect example. Clairiere, we talked about it. She's on my radar. I think she could potentially be sitting on a big race, and I think her best race is definitely capable under the right circumstances of beating those other two. But I'm not going to tell you right now I'm going to bet her, use her, or like her because I haven't done the race yet. You know what I mean? I don't make up my mind till the post position's drawn. I know who's in, who's out, where they're starting from. I'm not a big post position guy, and I'm curious to your take on this, okay? But Keeneland is one of the few racetracks, especially at the mile and a 16th distances, turf or dirt, that I do pay close attention to the draws. I think there are certain draws that are a tremendous disadvantage, especially for certain type of running styles at those two distances at Keeneland. What's your take on the draws at Keeneland going a mile or a mile and a 16th around two turns?
It's, put it this way, if I like a 10-to-1 shot, or God forbid a 20-to-1 shot, I don't care if he has post 32. I don't care if he's starting on the turf course in a dirt race. All that is useless shit, total garbage, in my opinion. There's enough to think about. If you start thinking about the 1 hole, the 12 hole, you know, it's, I've told this story many times. We were in high school and my buddy, we were betting on sports, and my buddy goes, we got to bet the Bruins. We got to bet all the money you have. We got to bet on the Bruins Saturday. I go, why do we have to bet on the Bruins? He goes, they're playing in the afternoon. When the Celtics play on Saturday night, the Bruins play in the afternoon. He goes, they're 16-2. I go, 16-2. I go, but they're playing so-and-so. It's a good team, right? He goes, yeah, the game is almost pick them, right? 16-2, you know, even. The Bruins get killed. I think nothing of it. About a month later, my friend goes to me, the same guy goes there, remember Serge? He goes, yeah, all the money you have. I go, you got another one for me? He goes, did you know the Bruins, when they play Saturday afternoon, they're 16-3? And I fucking whacked them.
Okay.
So forget about that. If you go dig stats and go back, it's a trend. You know, I've seen the trend. I see guys tell me, that trainer can't win first time out. I go, what are you talking about? That trainer used to be the best in the country first time out. It's just,
right.
They got a different pattern, or what, maybe they gamble. There's different, that's all clutter. Forget about that shit. If you love a horse, right? I don't care. I don't even pay attention to it. I bet Hong Kong, where, especially on the smaller track, Happy Valley, the post positions, everything. Well, you give me 6-5 from the rail or 12-1 from the 12 hole, what would you pick? I don't care how bad it is. I could care less of that. I could care less of weight, sex, age. A 2-year-old filly can beat a 4-year-old colt from the worst post position any day of the week. If they're good enough, they're good enough. You know, and if you talk about post positions, they're like, I know 6 furlongs sprinting at most tracks. It's a kiss of death, because the horse is looking, he's looking out of stall, and he's looking at the turn, and it looks like the turn standing in front of him. I stood in the gate. Used to be Old Greenwood, 4.5. Why did the one horse where the edge on the bull ring is a huge advantage? It was a kiss of death. You stand in the gate, and at Greenwood, we could see it from the parking lot. One day, just walking to the park, through the parking lot, and you look and you see the gates there, and you look out the gate, it looks like the turn's in the 3-path.
Right.
That turn, so the horses go, hey, there's the turn, right? So it's, you know, there's rare occasions, but that's all clutter. You let that trick with you and play with you. Now, I know from Hong Kong, when I first started, post was important, weight was important, their rating is important there because it just really gives you that's a different thing, but just spend too much time on what?
Right.
There's no real science. And
I get that. But
any edge you get, right? People know about it and you lose it anyway. So it's just clutter. I just have no room in here to worry about stuff like that at all. Zero.
yeah, I'm on board a little bit, not 100%. I don't think
Well,
you
Flightline. Is there any post position, any weight that Flightline you wouldn't, you try to beat Flightline?
No, but Flightline, that's 1.25 miles. That's why I was very specific that certain
No,
distance.
if Flightline, if the race was 1.16 miles, right?
Right.
I wouldn't worry one bit. Nobody would. No, even somebody who stands on top of the mountains and talks about this bad position, they're keen Flightline. They're not going to change their mind. And in horse racing, if the info is moving you this much or that much, nah. To me, really, to each his own. But to me, it's just a waste of time.
Right. Well, you're a historian as well, so I'll ask you, this question came up. I was on the Breeders' Cup press conference this morning, and who did they have? We had John Sadler, they had Todd Pletcher, they had Bill Mott, and I apologize, I can't think of the last guy they had. I don't mean to leave anybody out or disrespect anybody. My memory is not there. But anyway,
it was in Kentucky, so is Baffert allowed in a press conference in Kentucky?
It wasn't Baffert. It was Pletcher, Mott,
Brown,
Sadler. No, it wasn't Chad Brown. I forget who.
Yeah, not important. Go on.
No, now it's bothering me. So now I gotta look. Because I don't want to leave anybody out and disrespect anybody, because that would just be wrong. And we're not going to do that. It was Wesley Ward was the last guy. I apologize. Okay. Wesley, meant no disrespect. It's my brain, not you. But one question that kept coming up, and everybody was asking everybody, and everybody wanted to know the answer. And, it's not a question that I would ask or that I was even curious to the answer, but I'll ask you because I like talking to you and you're a friend and I just want your take on it. Are we ready now to put Flightline in the same category as Secretariat, Spectacular Bid, or whoever Tommy Massis considers, that handful of the best of all time horses? Is Flightline done enough already where we could say, regardless of what happens in the Classic, he belongs in that elite group or conversation?
Well, I've had this discussion. I won't mention names, but it was a trainer. Well, I'll tell you, Roger Loren, who basically trained.
I know who Roger is.
And not his father. And not his father. This is years ago. And he said,
I knew Roger.
So when Secretariat, finished the career at Woodbine, a lot of people said this horse can't be talked about, with the names of the past because of how it only ran, as a 4-year-old, didn't have a, compared to the old champions who run more races in 2 months than these horses run in a year,
Right.
So how do you compare that to that? So, and you have to look at it. You can't compare. It's like comparing, a basketball player from the 50s to now.
We agree on that. I can't compare horses from different eras. I agree.
Yeah, you can't compare. In this day and age, horses don't run that long. The evil breeders come in and screw everything up out of greed, and I get it. Money makes the world go round. So how do you compare? And you want to compare them to American Pharoah? American Pharoah couldn't beat Flightline if Flightline was blindfolded and has its feet tied together. You want to make those comparisons? Yeah, California Chrome, not even friggin' close to any. I can't think of, maybe you can, in recent time, who can you compare to Flightline? Or who can someone else compare to Flightline? Who has an argument?
Recently, I would say tough call, tough. Yeah.
Well, if Flightline wasn't around, who would be the best horse of the last 20 years? 15, whoever it is, they don't compare with Flightline. But you
Right.
want to go back, how far you want to go back? Days before we were born, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, I'd go back to when I was a kid going to the track. There are horses I would put up against, I would put up against them in a heartbeat, you know?
Yeah, you want to talk Holy Bull, Cigar, right?
No, even earlier than that, I
Yeah,
saw.
but you want to talk, Holy Bull and Cigar. I can't remember, one dethroned the other, you know what I mean? It was a different, that
Cigar
older
did
class.
Holy Bull, Cigar did on Holy Bull, but you go back to horses like
Yeah.
Seattle Slew, Affirmed, Spectacular Bid. I mean,
But back in those days,
Fagan.
John, they didn't run, one ran at Santa Anita, one ran at Belmont. There was kind of a circuit for older horses, and the grade one would
Right.
be, in Florida, and then they go to the Mass Handicap, and, and the top horses, if they were informed, just kept going, and you raced against each other. Same with the turf, same with everything else. It was like they do in harness now. Harness has the Grand Circuit week, where all, every track gets their turn, and all the horses in every class come, and you got the best of the best. Where here, we don't get the best of the best till the Breeders' Cup.
Right.
You can't think of a race, do we get the best 3-year-olds in the Derby? Yes. Other than that, there's no constant. Yeah, but to knock Flightline, no. When I heard they knocked Secretariat, and even Roger Lorenz said, he goes, hey, they had a good argument. These horses ran 148 times till they were 9, and they ran weekly, daily.
Right.
He goes, how do you compare them?
No, right. Yeah, you look back at a horse like Citation. Citation won the Triple Crown and ran a race in between the Preakness and the Belmont. You couldn't even fathom that today.
Yeah.
You couldn't
Yeah,
even-
I've looked at some of those old
He's not
charts.
he's not the only one who did that. There were other Triple Crown winners back then too that ran between the Preakness and the Belmont. So it's just it's just completely different game, different sport.
Yeah, here in Canada, we ran. If you go back far enough, I couldn't find that had the history of the Queen's Plate, where I think they ran the trial and the plate 2 days apart. Insane stuff. You know what I mean? So different age, different horses. It's how do you compare? You want to compare Vince Lombardi's Packers to Belichick's Patriots? You can't.
No, and I had this conversation with somebody not long ago about football, and the conversation that Brady is the greatest of all time, and I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying you can't really compare guys from different eras. It was a different game back then. Linebackers and defensive linemen, they were allowed to go helmet first into guys' knees. I seen guys like Johnny Unitas and Joe Namath take hits that Tom Brady wouldn't get up from. They would put smelling salts in them, get them up from a concussion, and they get up and they throw a touchdown
No,
pass.
I like the Tom Brady when he first started out. You could hit the quarterback, and whenever you had pressure, he just threw that ball away and took a dive. I don't blame him. And I used to hate the San Francisco 49ers, not as much as the Dallas Cowboys. That was a team everyone hated, but I hated San Francisco too. But I recently watched, there was a special on Joe Montana. They murdered the guy 3 times on the field, like
100%.
murdered him.
100%.
And then when you want to get into that conversation, well, Montana had a coach. I used to say he has Jerry Rice, he had this, he had that. To me, you can't even say Tom Brady's name in the breath of Joe Montana. Just go watch that. Go watch that series, right?
I've watched it. I've listened.
Yeah, you go. No, I'm saying to anyone who wants it. And how you gonna compare a guy who's playing flag football to a guy that got murdered and murdered and murdered?
Right. No, exactly. 100% right. And just people don't realize that. Now, I got to ask you about a filly that's coming from your neck of the woods that Frankie Dettori picked up the mount on. She's an exciting filly. She's a Queen's Plate winner. She won impressively. I'm not sure you'll have better insight into the quality of horses that she beat in the Queen's Plate. Moira coming to the Breeders' Cup, running on the grass. Frankie picked up the mount. What kind of filly is she?
Yeah, going back to an earlier question about having your mindset. In the olden days, with approval ran, right? I couldn't care that, or with approval couldn't lose to God on top of Pegasus in my eyes. Sky Classic, Dan Smarley, I was a homer, and I get my teeth kicked in a lot. I can go over and over horses that they're, to me, it's like you're, we'll go back to football. You're an Arizona Cardinals fan, right? And somehow you make it to the Super Bowl against the Bills. Okay, you're going to cheer for Arizona, but can you bet Arizona? You know what I mean? Yeah. Right. And I used to do that. I was such a, I would cry. With approval lost, I would cry. I'd weep. Like I wouldn't be the same for weeks, but I got that fanaticism out of there. And Moira is that to me. Okay. Moira, I'm proud to be a Canadian. Moira's carrying, I really like Kevin Attard, great trainer, him and his father, great people, the whole family. I really want to cheer for them, and the horse is getting better and better and better. And to me is maybe 1 or 2 steps away from greatness. And if she can hit the board in there against, well, again, I see some of the Euros that are coming, or some of the horses that are in there, just, that was a big step last time. You know what I mean? There wasn't killers, but she took a big jump up from 3-year-old Canadian breds to, wide open, Chad Brown's horse was probably the best in that race. Moira got a brutal trip, but so did Chad Brown's horse. So you got to leave that standing that, Chad Brown's horse beat Rogier. Rogier beat Moira by neck, and that stands in my mind. That's a fair result. They both got in trouble. But man, oh man, is Moira ever good, man? Is Moira ever good? It's just a matter of being right at that class, in that timing. I don't know how much she's improving race to race and all that, but
see, and I love
put it this way. If I bet on another horse in the race, and I'm not talking about big money, I play I don't want to talk about, BCBC money, but I'm not going to be betting that race. But just say, it happened to me at Woodbine years ago. There was a Samson Farm horse, never been a fan of it, and that was my favorite stable of all time. And I remember it was at Greenwood, and he was way over. And when he come roaring down the stretch and beat me at the wire, I was cheering for him. I was going, yeah, come on. My buddy goes, I thought you bet the other horse. He goes, I did. He goes, what's the matter with you? I go, I don't know, but something's the matter with me.
What's the matter?
That's going to be the same thing with Moira.
I've never cheered for a horse that was beating me. Never, no matter how much I like it.
It just comes out naturally. It just comes out. It won't. No, it just came out naturally. I cheered for the other horse.
Never happened.
I knew he was going to win. The race was over, but I'm happy. I was always a homer. Always proud of Canadian racing. I still am. We got great racing, great horses, and we're lucky now because people are getting smarter and smarter. And I would say to anyone who breeds, drop your horses in Canada. I know Kentucky now, just Kentucky, the last few years, their state bred added money has been real big, right?
Right.
But, so it kind of excludes you from not being a Kentucky bred sometimes. But anyone, drop your Stronach was this key to success. Drop all your horses in Canada, aim them for the States, the goal is to win the Derby and all that. But the greatest fallback plan is you're Canadian bred. You can come back here and run for 500, 600,000 against Canadian breds.
Right.
And Donato Lanni and that group, they figured that out. Drop these horses here. These horses here.
Oh, no doubt
you can still
about
go to the States if you're good enough, and especially when you get to that level. When you get to that level, well, there's no added Kentucky money in the Breeders' Cup or Grade 1 races. But in general, a lot of these allowance races in Kentucky, small stakes at Turfway. I was going to enter a filly once there, and the stake was like 100,000. And if you weren't a Kentucky bred, it was like 65. So, been running in Canada. My filly was running for 115 Canadian, so no use going there. But I'm a homer. I'll be cheering for Moira. I've gotten past that where I would cheer against my interest, but put it this way, I'm cheering for Moira. Good enough or not, I don't know. And forget about being good enough to beat the American horses. I think she is. These Euros, some of them are just on a different playing field.
Yeah, no, that's true. But one of the things that I love to bet on is and it's just been something I've gravitated to over the years. I love looking for horses that are, moving forward and on the improve, a whole, Philly like Moira, where you just don't know how good they might be, but you're confident they're going to take a step forward. And because of that, you may get a little bit more value on them than, a little bit of a better price on them than you would if they already showed that they can kind of do that. So I like betting that on the come, so to speak, when I'm confident in my own mind and how I watch races and follow horses, that they're going to take a step forward and run better than they have before. That's something that I do look for and
Yeah,
enjoy.
no, we're on the same page there, but Moira at the right price against North American horses would be a cinch play for me.
Right.
The best North American horses, they can't warm up the 10th Euro horses usually. So I'm not going to be that arrogant enough to, when money's involved, I'll cheer for her. And if I bet, if there's no Euro that pops up, yeah, I'll bet the Moira over the American horses. But
well, she got Frankie, and he certainly knows how to win the Breeders' Cup. That's for sure.
yeah, still, you can only do so much. I'm not a big jockey guy, or even a big trainer guy. Once, like Moira, no matter who's training, Kevin did a great job, but any trainer that was good enough to get it to this point, it's good enough to get it to the next point, really. It's, the hard part is to get to this point, and Kevin's the best trainer in Canada by 1,000 friggin' miles. It's not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. We used to have a guy here, Roger Atfield. As long as he's alive, I shouldn't say that. He's the best horseman there ever was or ever will be here. But for results right now, Kevin Attard is the king, and period.
Okay.
And it's Kevin and Tino. When you say Kevin, you say his father Tino also. It's good having a trainer that's been around forever in your barn.
Right. No, that's for sure. You are playing in the contest this year, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It would be, if you bring it home, it would be your second BCBC winner. Did you win it twice or you win it once?
No, I only won it once. I came 8th the first time I played a million years ago, but that was the first time I played. And I learned multiple valuable lessons there that helped me the next time.
Right. Yeah, I'm on the fence. I may be a late supplement. You never know. I may supplement in late and take a shot once I
come on, grow a pair.
It's got nothing to do with that. It's just
what does it got to do with you're better than most players. There's no other argument you could make.
There is. It's not my style of play.
What style? You have to bet 2 winners.
Okay, but I gotta bet mandatory races.
So
I
what?
don't like to
Listen, you don't have to bet mandatory races.
Okay.
Not if you win, if you bet the first winner, right? You bet your first winner. Now you got a bankroll. You can send in the mandatories, and you still got 20 G's to bet on the next.
Right.
That's all it takes.
And I'm going to be honest with you. That's part of why I might supplement late. If I like something early on a Friday card that I'm willing to put my whole bankroll on, I'll go in.
It doesn't have to be Friday.
So I could nurse. You say, how many minimum bets I got to make on Friday?
I don't know what it is, but even I don't nurse. Whatever the minimum is, 600, 800, whatever it is, right?
Right.
I try to hit with that.
Of course.
Unless if I do find it all in the first day, I don't hesitate. Even if it's the first race, one of these $100,000 races, I could care less where it is. Preferably it's there.
Right.
But, when I won that year, I had to make a mandatory play, and I hit a race. I boxed 2 horses, won that race at Park. They came out of a stake race at Parks. I boxed my mandatory bet. I hit the exactor, and it put me in a position to blow half my bankroll on the sprint and then still have another crack at it.
Right.
And I got an end plan for this year. It's how I get to that end plan. I haven't looked or figured out yet, but I kind of have a race where I know if I have X amount of money, that's where it's all going to go on.
Right.
How do I get there? I got to make another hit before that to get there.
Right. No, and I understand that philosophy.
It's not as complicated as you think. Well, the last Breeders' Cup I played in, I was out. One bet I made, I'm out. If
Right.
that bet wins, you know, you do the math. 7,500 at 16 or 17 to 1, all of that would have went on Tarwana, and I went by a
Right.
pole.
And you would have won, right? No,
The horse
absolutely.
lost,
And
and
I
big
remember.
deal. Big
Right,
deal.
no,
I was the
I-
first one at 0. I was the first one at 0. It's a badge of honor 0. When you
Right.
go home with 2,000 or 4,000 or 3,000 in these contests, you should not stop betting the horses, not slow down betting the horses. You should cut off your hands.
I love it. I love it.
And I see it all the time.
You
A
think
guy
about
at Keeneland contest last year, guy, oh man, Christian Helmers, real sharp player. He smashes the first race. He's got 20, 24, 25,000. And when you look at the list after the contest, how many guys quit after that? Well, you're going to need to get to that amount at the end of it anyway.
Right.
So why are you quitting for? You still have to get to 27, 30,000 or more anyway. People, and when I saw the names on the names, guys on Twitter, go, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Right.
Taking your money and going home and just quitting like a bunch of bitches, like really. And guys who have money, you know what I mean? There's other pumps. If I don't know who they are, you know, you figure they might have won their way in. They don't got money. I kind of get it. I still don't get it. But you need 25, 30,000 to win these contests. And after one guy hits the first race and you're quitting, it's just, and that's another reason to play. A lot of dead money. Especially these contests with feeders and that, guys are getting in there with $37. I'll play against those guys every day because they're not going to pull the trigger.
I get all that. I get all that. But for me, it's hard. I'm older. I'm set in my ways, and you know, I've always felt since they started.
Yeah. Just play.
There was a Breeders' Cup betting challenge championship with my name on it. And I'll tell you this, if the contest was such that everybody got 7,500, okay, or you bought in and everybody had 7,500, and we start Friday, and whoever's got the most money at the end of Saturday wins, I play I'm in.
But that's you just play that way.
But I
But
know
that's the whole.
minimum
You're
bets.
missing it. That's the whole advantage because I play that way.
Okay.
I play that way. Everyone else plays. If you see the bets when they post them, one guy bet 7 horses in a race. The Cowboy, the Brooklyn Cowboy. You have to see his plays. You bet fucking 6 horses to win show. It's it's like
Seriously?
the headless horseman took over his account. So
Wow.
the most embarrassing shit you see, show betting, all this, you know, to get by a race. Guys are betting show with their 600 to pass a race. Or with that 600, you got an opportunity to hit 10, 20,000. You could win the contest with that 600. They're betting show. They're throwing away bullets. But
Right.
I'm telling you, you play the way you play. It's like people say the worst thing that ever happened is the 20-cent pick 4. It's the greatest thing that ever happened. You don't got to play 20 cents. You play 20 cents if you want, because it feeds into people's weaknesses. Let me play a 20-cent one. It's the greatest thing that happened. Now, if you only play 20-cent pick 4s, it's the worst thing that ever happened. So you don't have to play by those rules in essence. There's no excuse for what you're saying. Grow a pair, get in there.
I know.
Play. You're in the top 10 percentile.
You're not. I'm not understanding you because I got 7,500. I've got to make. Let's say I want to bet my whole 7,500 on a horse on Saturday, and if he wins, bet the whole thing on another horse on Saturday. I can't do that.
Okay, so you get to Saturday with 6,000, right?
Okay.
You blow your 3 races on.
That's what I asked you. I don't know how many I got.
Yeah. Okay, so you bet 3. I think it's 3 races on Friday, right? I don't know. They changed the rules. I haven't read the rules. You know,
Well, I don't know.
Just say
I read them last
three
year.
races at 600, right? 3 races. So you take shots with them. You lose. So now you got 5,800, right? You got 5,900, 50, whatever it is. That's enough to take 2 cracks. That's enough. All you got to know is, you know, you have to bet, I think, 5 races the next day. You got all day. All you got to know is after you make your first bet, right? and then you make your second bet. If there's 3 races after that, well, when you got 240,000 in your account, you can bet the 900 on those 3. It's no problem. You just got to think about it more. It's not as difficult as you think. You take 3 $600 cracks the first day, you lose. Now your game plan is Saturday, and that's it. Hey, you want to bet show and nurse it, bet 1 to 9 shots and that and nurse it? No, I'm just saying, I kind of get it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'll tell you why I can't do it. It's an okay strategy, but if you blow one of those show bets, your mind is gone. As Professor Longhair would say, your mind is gone.
That wouldn't.
You're gone. You're on tilt.
600, you might as well take a shot with the 600.
No, but I understand. Like but people think betting show on a 1 to 5 shot is a sure thing. It's not. Nothing's a sure thing, and it's okay if you get by it. I don't judge you, right? But when you lose one of those show bets, you're finished. You're finished. It takes weeks to recover mentally. From me, I did it once in a Delaware Park. Ramon Dominguez is riding a Belmont horse at Parks, multiple stake, like 1 to 9, 5-horse field. I started the contest. I remember it was like a $20 minimum bet. I had to bet. I bet $20 to show Ramon Dominguez. He come forth. I lose the photo. Not only I'm in a photo, I got to suffer an extra 5 and he lost. After that, I was finished. I lost every bet, every other thing I touched for weeks. I didn't get over that. A $20 bet put me on tilt.
Yeah, no,
and that's the only reason I don't do it. I need to have the mind, without going cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it anyway. It's just not. I can't remember. I'm not going to tell you I never made a show bet. I will tell you I can't remember the last time I made a show bet or a place bet. And
well, I can tell you exactly where I was.
I couldn't.
I was in the green room at Keeneland, and I won't say names, but a great guy, a real great guy, says, hey, we're putting in a bet together. He goes, we're throwing in 20 or 40 bucks each. So I hand it over to him. He comes over to me. They're both, he goes, it's this race at Belmont. I go, who do we got? We got the 9 to show. I go, fucking kill me now. He goes, what? I go, kill me now. What are you doing show? Because I'm betting a show parlay. I go, why don't you bet a win parlay?
Right.
He goes, but I go, oh my God. But that was the last time.
Yeah, no,
and I bet it to show. I'm not going to blame anyone else. I gave a guy money to bet, right? I didn't ask what he was betting because if he would have said show, I would have given him the 20 bucks to leave me alone.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I can't remember the last time I did it, but I may maybe you sway me.
Yeah, I don't even bet win anymore, John. Other than these contests, I don't even bet win.
Into it. I gotta also then balance my other betting from that. You know what I mean? And
listen. If you had a camera on me playing the BCBC, right? Every 20 minutes, if you came to my table and did an overhead look, you see my form is open at Woodbine, my computer is open at Woodbine. I know what I'm going to do Breeders' Cup Day, and I play my normal shit. It doesn't affect me one bit. I have a game plan. And I like betting Woodbine, and that's the best piece of advice I'll give people. If you're one of these guys who plays, Weekend Warrior plays every track that moves, I'm not talking to you, but if you're playing, if you only play Belmont, or you play Belmont and Finger Lakes, or all you play is Belmont, you play 1 or 2 tracks, right? You follow them. Why, when the Breeders' Cup comes, are you taking the majority of your bankroll and betting the Breeders' Cup races?
Right.
People save up their money for these big days, the Derby, whatever. And I thought, why don't you save up your money and wait till you have a strong opinion on the track you follow and you know? And then I'll hear the argument, well, I know some of these horses. I bet Keeneland, Belmont. You don't know the Santa Anita horses. You don't know the Euro horses. What I understand playing it and watching it. It's probably the greatest day in horse racing in North America. But why, if your bankroll's 200, why save up 2,000 to bet the Breeders' Cup?
Right.
And people don't even look at their home tracks where they probably have real opinions and winners. Yeah. So I focus on what I'm doing. I'll be handicapping if there's I know there's a carryover this Saturday to Hong Kong. Just say there's a double carryover next week, Saturday night. I'll be spending Friday doing as much Hong Kong. Believe me, more Hong Kong than the Breeders' Cup.
Right.
Because I know where my bread gets buttered. You know what I mean? It's where absolutely. I have an opinion, where I have notes.
Right. Yeah. No, I bet Keeneland and I follow, I'd be betting the Breeders' Cup. It's one of my main betting days. throughout the year anyway. So,
Yeah, I just don't see how somebody can, the way I play anyway, you have opinions at this track and that track. Now you're dealing with horses coming from 78 tracks. I understand playing it, it's a challenge, but to really ramp up your betting for those days. Now I'm talking about guys who's an everyday player,
right.
playing Belmont or Woodbine or whatever every day. Keep your money for your track, put some of it to that. I get it, right? But
Yeah, no, I get it. But for me, the way I play, I would have to balance, the contest from my other bets, which
now you're a spot player basically. Have a game plan. Stop listening. You're giving me excuses. Just play. You play it once, right? You play it once.
I never
Go
played it.
broke.
I played it once.
No, I said if you play it once and you go
Right.
broke, right? You go broke. Everything goes wrong. You'll play it every year after that. You'll see. You'll see. And especially after you play it, go look at the results. Go look at everyone's plays. They post everyone's plays. Go look at everyone's plays, and you'd hope they'd have a Breeders' Cup contest every month.
Right. No, I get that. That part of it I get,
There's so many advantages for you, and those little things you talk about, they're not real. They're in your head, John. They're not real. There's so many advantages. Like I said, you play it, you go broke, you don't even come close. It costs you a pick four because you weren't paying attention. Big deal. When you go look at those results and you see who you're playing against. Now, don't get me wrong, there's real good players there, but so many guys that, it's just like I don't even know what they're doing.
No, I see. I've looked at some of the plays and even some of the people that, people think are good and have had success.
No, some players are out there who think they're real good. They sell info and all that. They got no clue. They shouldn't be betting horses.
I
They should be
agree.
picking worms. They have more chance of making money.
No,
And when you see someone's bets laid out like that, right? That's where the panics, even for me, I analyze my own bets. Last time it was easy. I made one bet and I blew, right? I lost. But sometimes I look back and I'm critical of myself and everyone else. But you see some guys' plays and you just say, oh my God, man. And some guys are, the shocking part is some of these guys are real good handicappers, real good. But they just have no clue how to gamble and they won't change. They think they know everything. They think what they're doing is right. And I've told a few of them. And they look at you, with arrogant sneers, right? Sneers on their face, but they just, I don't know, they're just pussies. No offense to pussies, but they're pussies.
Well, the way that you and I play with that kind of aggressive approach is really not for everybody. A lot of people can't get themselves to do it. We have some common friends that we've tried to sway to that way of thinking and betting, and it's just hard for people to embrace that. People bet wanting to cash more tickets as opposed to win more money, and I think that's just an inherent trait and an inherent flaw in most gamblers. I want to play to win more money, not to necessarily cash more tickets. And I think it's tough to embrace that philosophy for a lot of people.
This contest is a contest where you got to play with a little reckless abandon. You got to have no value for your money at all when you sit down and play this contest, and you got to take stupid chances that you would never take day to day, because the X times the payoff at the end of it is worth it.
Right.
And for someone like you with a website, 100 times worth it more than me winning. You get more out of it than I get out of it. And if you lose, it doesn't hurt your business, you in any way, because no one's supposed to win. I go in there knowing I probably got no chance to win. I got very little chance to win, even though I'm one of the favorites in my mind, right? It's hard. It's hard. I bet, if I get to Tarwana, if I take a different way around it and grind my way, who knows? Maybe I win it, And then there's the year I won it. If Liam's Map runs against American Pharaoh, all my money, I skip the turf and all my money goes on Liam's Map. I
Right,
thought Liam's Map was at that point the best horse in the country, the best dirt horse in the country by a mile.
right,
And meanwhile, I just watched Liam's Map win at 3-5 and didn't bet a dime on the race or whatever he was in the mile.
right.
Things, it's one little and one little this and that, so it's hard to win, but it's a no-brainer. I've had enough with contests. I really don't play them anymore. And that's one, it's hard for me to not play. At certain tracks, as long as it's at certain tracks I like, I will play. But I'm getting older and really, I don't want to fly. I love Santa Anita. I really do. It's one of my favorite places. Tom Quigley out there treats all the good, players like gold. He knows how it's done. I'm not saying, Keeneland, Churchill, they treat me great. They treat everyone great too, but I don't want to fly out there 5 hours. It's hard on me. It's hard on my back. I'm really panicking now that I'm going to be at Keeneland with a friggin' cane. But the Breeders' Cup contest, it's good money. And another thing is, I don't like playing from home.
Right.
I do not like playing horses from home. I don't focus. I'm not in it. I like to be at the track, and I could care less if I'm at the track where I can't even watch a race outside. I could care less. I want to be there. I like to be that environment, to feel it, to have nothing on my mind, not have the TV, not, go out for a smoke and nothing. I like playing at the track. Playing from home, not a good thing for me. It doesn't work for me. I know most people the opposite, and I agree. For a lot of people, it's the way to do it. But me, I like to be at the track. I don't need a TV screen. I don't need a computer, my little phone. I just like being there. I just get in that right mood, that right vibe.
Yeah, I was that way for a long time. It took me a long time to change to the other way.
Well, you're 2.5 hours from a track.
Well, but right. And
You're not near a track.
Right. When I wasn't, I went every day for
Yeah, if I went,
What a
like
year.
I'm 7 minutes from Woodbine,
right.
I'm gonna play Woodbine unless it's real, I'm gonna go play. And believe me, when I stay home and I don't play that much or at all from home, if I can't go I just like being there. Just me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Well, Hammer, always a pleasure. I don't want to take more of your time. I know you're in pain. I know you got other things to do. Always a pleasure talking.
I got nothing to do.
You got to have something to do.
I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing to do today.
I got things to do.
Okay, no problem.
I always got too much to do, and recovering from a hurricane is no day at the beach. So I will say that was a setback and a half. But we forged forward, and any parting thoughts for the Past the Wire TV watchers on the Breeders' Cup racing, anything else? Parting words of wisdom from Hammer.
Yeah, I'll give a good advice for the turf races, right? If there's, I can't get around Euros, right? If there's only 1 or 2 Euros, I'm not looking at that race. I like it where there's 5 or 6 Euros. Because what's going to happen with 1 Euro, that good Euro, is it's going to be an automatic single, an automatic play, and I don't need that. I like it when there's 4 or 5 Euros and, try to find the right one and watch replays. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, I agree. Replays is my most valuable tool in my arsenal at this point in my career. So I agree with that. Hammer, I will see you. I will be in town in Lexington before you, so I will see you when you get there. Enjoy. Thanks for coming on the show. As always.
I'll be at Churchill Wednesday, Thursday, and the Sunday after. If anyone wants to say hey or hang out, let me know.
I'll probably come by and see you one of those days. I'm gonna be busy in the mornings, but I'll find some time to hook up with you guys over there at least one of those days. So we'll cross paths for sure. All right. Ciao for now.
Tracking Trips with Pick 6 King John Stettin. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better.